Today I'm going to be focusing on a small-scale research project evaluating the program economics of volunteer performance at a club level. This project will be carried out between November 2015 and May 2016. Table of contents. To address this study, we are going to be looking at the background, the research problem, the research question considering the aims and objectives, the literature review considering the analysis and synthesis, the methods for collection and analysis, and finally the rationale. Background. The purpose of this proposal is to evaluate the program economics of volunteer performance at a club level. According to Apple and Pope, volunteering is not a utility-bearing activity. Instead, it generates individual future benefits by providing valuable work experience, networking opportunities, and other career advancements. Research suggests that cognitive, emotional intelligence, and social intelligence competencies are necessary to be perceived as an outstanding performing board member. Therefore, it is important that information is gathered and the volunteers' performances are evaluated in order for the organizations to know if they are helping or improving their program, and also to see whether it is worthwhile having volunteers instead of paid professionals. We should note that from a key study in 1999, there were considerably more females volunteering at a rate of 62% in comparison to the males, which only had 49% volunteers. Research problem. Problems in the research leading to the importance of this study. For the purpose of this project, Fredericton, New Brunswick will be the selected area of study. There are many different non-profit organizations which are aimed at focusing on their goals rather than the income generated from activities. Despite the numerous organizations, the number of volunteers does not seem to equal the amount needed. Therefore, it is necessary to discover and address the leading causes of volunteers in non-profit organizations with regards to the program economics. Gathering information on the organizations such as volunteers, paid employees, annual budget, and activity income will provide information to adjust the delivery of the programs. Research question. Are club-level volunteers proving to be effective to the organization and its future? To conduct the research, this study has two main aims. 1. To examine the effect of the volunteers on the participants. 2. To understand whether or not the organization should have full-time paid employees as opposed to volunteers. Objectively, the research will A. Record the number of volunteers who volunteer at the club level. B. Record the availability of volunteers within the surrounding area. C. Examine the relationships between the quality of volunteering and cost effectiveness. D. Record the number of volunteers versus non-volunteers. And E. Examine hindering factors related to economics within the area. Literature review. The purpose of this proposal is to evaluate the program economics of volunteer performance at a club level. The literature review consists of qualitative and quantitative methods. The majority of the papers were quantitative. However, some of the methods used to gather data were inconsistent. Some of the methods, both qualitative and quantitative, used in the literature review include 1. Interviews, 2. Surveys, 3. Questionnaires, and 4. Self-recorded information. Program economics is the production and consumption of goods and services and the analysis of the commercial activities of a society. A volunteer is someone who offers oneself for an undertaking by choice and without request or obligation. The outcome of the research will provide greater knowledge of the capability, purpose, and limitations. The study will evaluate members' new knowledge, skills, and also provide information evaluating participants' thoughts towards the program economics of board club level volunteers. One article suggested that more middle-aged men and women had the highest rates of volunteering due to previous involvement with the organisation or currently with their youth being a part of it. Research on needs of board members suggested that women are underrepresented in various volunteer roles compared to men who are more embodied in various roles such as coaches and as board members. This study will evaluate volunteer performance at a club level and focus on the economics of having event volunteers. The methods: collection and analysis. The research data will be collected through use of 3 different methods and will include some self-recorded information. The research will be conducted over a course of 6 months in order to evaluate volunteer performance. Firstly, through the use of surveys at the end of each week, which will be handed to the parents of the children who are coached, trained by the volunteers of their respective clubs. The survey will have 10 short questions with a multiple choice style answering format. A comments box will be left at the bottom of the survey for any additional information the observer wishes to add. Secondly, interviews will be held with the volunteers themselves and also the board members of the organisation. This allows participants the chance to observe them over a course of 2 weeks at a time. It gives them the chance to give positive or negative feedback every 2 weeks. The interviews will be brief and simple. This is to allow greater understanding of the effect of having volunteers instead of paid employees. And finally, through the use of questionnaires, the volunteers themselves will be able to note their opinions of the programs they are involved with, and the active participants will be able to rate the volunteers on a scale ranging from poor to excellent in their performance. Rationale: to engage and include volunteers in non-profit organizational programs as a way of saving money and proving beneficial for the economics of the organization. Understanding key barriers to economics and volunteer performance will benefit the volunteers, board members, active participants, and full-time staff members. Need for the research: the ability to appoint cost-effective volunteers. Volunteers should be targeted from the organizations based on an economic standpoint. Business in the non-profit organizational profession is very important as you have a set budget and rely solely on volunteers. It would benefit the active participants the most if the volunteers were already experienced in the roles they are assigned. More successful and broader program. According to Deshpande, the key to having a successful non-profit organization is caring for those who are giving up their time and effort in order to better the program. Volunteers cost no money at all, just manners and sheer politeness. Having a good relationship with volunteers often draws attention to the program and can make for an easy recruitment of good quality volunteers in the future. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my slideshow, and please have a very, very, very great Christmas.